Part 163. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1626. Chapter 1621. The extraordinary essence. Well, even writing a thesis will hurt me. Monthly ticket adds 7 updates. Gretel soon felt that an accelerator was too little, too little. Senior sister has to soak in the high-speed electron flow every day. Yes, it's like taking a bath. She can't wait to shower in the electron flow 24 hours a day. Using high-speed electrons to shoot fertilized eggs, chromosomes, and chromosome fragments, he summarized the experimental requirements and felt that 48 hours a day may not be enough. In order to study deeper issues, such as what is emitting light in chromosomes struck by high-speed electrons, the resulting experimental requirements are estimated to fill 48 hours a day. Gretel sighed and scratched his scalp, giving time to these needs. If chromosome points are used as specific shooting targets, 4 hours will be divided into each day. If the subdivided segments below the chromosome points are used as shooting targets, then 4 hours are divided. If atoms are used as the dividing object, another 4 hours will be spent. As for whether it was the dragon's chromosomes or the devil's frog's chromosomes that were shot during these 4 hours. In other words, it is point 173 of the 25th chromosome of the silver dragon, or point 59 of the 19th chromosome of the red dragon. Or, the shooting object is a hydrogen atom, a carbon atom, a lithium atom or a gold atom. Each group will think of its own solution and submit its own application report. What? Want to use your morning lab time instead of late night lab time? Except for the senior sister's shower time, which is scheduled in the middle of the night, the other groups will draw lots. Use which time slots you have chosen, and have weekly group meetings to report on the experimental progress and results of the previous week. If the experimental progress is excellent and the results are outstanding, priority will be given to the time period. If the experimental progress is weak and there are no results, still want to choose the best time period? You are not allowed to fly back by yourself and are not allowed to occupy the teleportation gate of the Mage Tower, which is already good. Under such a competition mechanism, the magicians participating in the research had to spend more time thinking and designing experimental plans. What speed of electron flow is used, and what is the firing frequency? What kind of treatment should be done beforehand for the object being shot? When shooting chromosomes, should we use dragon cells, low-level Warcraft cells, or simply ordinary biological cells? Or maybe just get some magical fruit flies from the Nordmark wizard and shoot their salivary glands. Shooting chromosome points, which point to choose? Has it just been opened and is in a gleaming golden state, or is it dying and the golden shine is about to fade, or has it already faded? Shooting chromosome fragments, choose larger fragments, or smaller fragments. When shooting atoms, choose large atoms or small atoms, stable elements, or radioactive isotopes. Why choose this way? What is your guess, and what answer do you think you will get? How much does the experiment chosen like this cost? At the group meeting, everyone needs to take turns answering these questions, and everyone will be asked until they are sweating and want to escape from the meeting room. Under strong pressure, the research plan continued to iterate, and soon the results were achieved. Mage Nordmark. Mage Nordmark. We have observed extraordinary phenomena. In the observation room, a gray-haired archmage rushed out with a robe in his hands and hammered Greet's door with a loud bang. After the third blow, the door suddenly opened, and the archmage fell forward. He was immediately supported by the hands of 2 high-ranking mages, and was saved from falling like a dog. What did you observe? It's an atom. It's an atom. After being hit by a stream of high-energy particles, the atom became extraordinary. Oh! Gretel hurried over. The archmage followed him step by step, explaining quickly as he walked. We selected some elemental elements that have a strong affinity with magic and can react powerfully, and are hit by high energy particle flow. In the latest issue, we chose aluminum plates. Aluminum plate. The main idea behind choosing an aluminum plate is that aluminum powder is used to make the eternal flame, which can replace the silver rod coated with ruby powder. This means that the luminescence is caused by the aluminum atoms being magically excited to produce strong light. At this point, the two of them entered the door. The archmage waved his hand, and a mage's hand flew up to close the door. He paused and smiled at Greed. Speaking of which, this is your invention. Ah, it seems to be his invention. Gretel raised his head and recalled. At that time, it seemed that there was a conflict with some family, and then the ruby ash used in large quantities in the mage tower was stuck. The excuse was that the sea route was not smooth and there was a problem with the import. Then in a rage, he produced electrolytic aluminum and aluminum powder. Aluminum powder requires magic processing and magic engraving before it can be made into eternal flame props. Now, we hit the aluminum plate with high energy particle flow and observed an obvious extraordinary phenomenon. Gretel clenched his fist hard. This is what he is waiting for, he thought, this is the phenomenon he is waiting for. Do the experiment again. Well, Master Nordmark, you must be patient. We have been conducting experiments for almost a week and only observed this once. He asked the observation equipment to project an image as he spoke. There is no need to do it again because the experiment never stops. However, when the high energy electron flow hits the thin aluminum plate, there is still no response, no response, no response. Gretel remained calm. Not to mention electron flow, if you hit the atomic nucleus with high energy particles 3000 times, if you can hit the atomic nucleus once, that's good luck. He went over the experimental setup, the parameters of the accelerator, the speed of the high energy particle stream, and, of course, the placement of the aluminum plates. Then, return to the observation room and issue the command again. Tailing, play the experimental video. The experimental image is a specially cut out section. Of course there was no reaction at first. After a few seconds, a certain point on the aluminum plate suddenly burst out with light. This is it. The archmage beside him jumped up. Gretel took a deep breath. Did you measure it? Ah, measured, the archmage quickly summoned a record book. The energy index of the treated aluminum plate is significantly higher than that of the ordinary aluminum plate. The aluminum plate is crushed into aluminum powder and coated on the silver rod to activate the eternal flame. The spell output is reduced by 70%. What I want is not a measurement in this area. Gretel held up his forehead. When the archmage stopped talking, he sighed and softened his voice. Well, measuring the magic energy response is also the right direction. After all, the reason we process those magic materials is to unlock the extraordinary mysteries. But what I want to know is more things. For example, what is the burst of light? By the way, look at the spectral lines and compare them with the spectral lines of aluminum strips burned on a flame. How much energy does the burst of light contain? What is the energy ratio to the high energy particles hitting the aluminum plate? Where do you think the high energy electrons hit? Did they hit the nucleus, a certain electron, or between atoms? With so many high energy electrons hitting the aluminum plate, how much does the energy intensity of the aluminum plate itself increase? Is all the energy of the high energy electrons absorbed by the aluminum plate? If it is not absorbed, where is this energy lost? If it is absorbed, how is this energy absorbed and how does it stay in the aluminum plate? How long can this energy be stored in the aluminum plate without using special processing and storage methods? At what speed will it decay? If the aluminum plate is crushed into aluminum powder, will the energy be reduced, and will the decay rate be faster? He came out with a series of questions, which made the archmage in charge of this research so blind that stars appeared in his eyes and he bowed lower and lower. Gretel took a deep breath and waved his hand. Okay, these are the directions you need to study. 4 hours a day, that is the 4 hours of doing experiments with the accelerator. After 4 hours, it doesn't mean that you can just lie down. There are more things to do. It's research. The archmage ran away with a grimace. The top is talking, the bottom is breaking the legs. Greet asks a few questions at random, and they may not be able to answer them in a week, 2 weeks, or a month. Ah, so desperate, I have to work overtime again, day and night, and I have to lay the floor in the laboratory day and night. Later, I have to apply for double the supply of coffee, double the supply of tea, and increase the amount of psychoactive medicine. Who would have thought that they would all come to Long Island in the far north? The demand for coffee in the tropics, it has actually improved significantly. Gretel didn't care how they lived or died. If you have to do the work, do the work. If you can't do the work, get out. I live in my mage tower, take my resources, and want to stop working, just kidding. As for himself, he summarized all the information and research results and thought in retreat. Soon, lines of messy handwriting appeared on the manuscript in the study. Sometimes there is a pause, sometimes it is crossed out, sometimes another sentence is circled and an arrow is drawn to the next line. It can currently be confirmed that when a large amount of energy is injected into a creature, it will transition into a transcendent creature. This transition will be remembered by the chromosomes and retained. And chromosomes, whether they are whole, points, or fragments, will take on extraordinary qualities after absorbing a large amount of energy. When a large number of electrons are injected into the aluminum element, it will also become extraordinary. From this, it can be inferred that the essence of extraordinary transformation is a leap at the atomic level, not just at the molecular level, or at the level of biology itself. The tip of his pen paused. Back and forth, sort out all the results again, and continue writing. If it can be observed that after aluminum atoms are excited by high-speed electrons, the spectral lines that appear are the same as the spectral lines of the aluminum element's flame reaction, that means the extraordinary essence is the transition state that atoms are excited into after absorbing a large amount of energy. Boom! A thunderbolt fell from the sky. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1627. Chapter 1622 Lord of Thunder, who stole my thunder? Crack. Boom. The entire defense system on the outside of the mage tower lit up. It wasn't to the point of raising an alarm, but Elder Nox of the natural god cult, who was looking after the dragon beast nearby, suddenly raised his head. This mage tower. The whole thing lights up. Standing several miles away, you can see the towering tower. The tower is shining brightly and thousands of electric lights are flowing. To take over, to absorb, to disappear, to take over again, to absorb again, to disappear again. What happened? With such a big movement, who has advanced? Conjuration system? Alchemy department? Magicians from these two schools have been very active recently, busy making new things and researching new things. So, this is their research finally bearing fruit? Or the necromancy system? I hope it's not the necromancy type. Those magicians from the necromance type can't stand it if they attract such strong thunder from the sky during the advancement process. It doesn't mean that you will be struck directly by lightning. With the mage tower around, you shouldn't have to worry about the whereabouts of thunder and lightning, killing people directly or seriously injuring them. However, if the energy infusion caused during the advancement process manifests itself in the form of thunder and lightning, it probably means that there is something wrong with the necromancer's practice, or maybe the direction of his practice has taken a sudden turn. In fact, the one with the greatest possibility of advancement is the evocation system. However, it wasn't long before Archmage Philby advanced to level 19, and she hadn't crossed the legendary threshold so quickly. Little Greet. Little Gretel. It shouldn't be that fast, right? He hesitantly looked up at the thunder in the sky. The rolling sky thunder gathered into a line, like a huge pillar of lightning, standing on the top of the mage tower, connecting to the ground and the sky. This level of energy gathering and power really doesn't look like a level 16 magician advancing to level 17. So what's going on? In the mage tower, all the magicians looked up and stretched their heads. Pressing their hands on the windowsill, they wanted to poke their heads out to take a look. However, they only saw a neat movement. Boom. 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 Amidst the roar, all the long windows in the mage tower lowered their shutters. Dark clouds, lightning, energy shocks, everything disappeared from their sight. Not even the slightest light can shine through the cracks in the windows. In order to enhance defense in extreme situations, all the window panels of the mage tower are embedded in fixed grooves. The trough and the window panel overlapped, blocking all light, and also blocked the lightning surging down outside the mage tower. What happened? Is there an attack from outside? No, it's not like an attack. If it was an attack, the tower spirit must have called the police and put us on combat readiness, but if it wasn't, then it wouldn't be an attack. The magicians were talking a lot at the same time. Someone also asked Tailing. What's going on outside? Are there any foreign enemies attacking? What do we need to do? No matter which floor, no matter who asked, there was no answer. Tailing just repeated over and over again. Insufficient authority, insufficient authority, insufficient authority. There is a strong energy reaction. Please stay indoors, keep quiet, and turn off experimental devices that require strong energy. The meditation room is temporarily closed. The external communication channel is temporarily closed. The elevator is temporarily closed. Please take the stairs, please take the stairs. The magicians looked at each other. What does insufficient permissions mean? Last time when Archmage Philby was about to advance, several half-step legends rushed out and led everyone to set up a magic circle to protect her, and the mage tower didn't even prompt for insufficient permissions. So, is it Master Nordmark? Such a big movement. What should we do? What do we need to do? What can we do for the Nordmark mages? If something goes wrong with the Nordmark mage, our project, our research, and our mage tower will all be ruined. No, we must do something. The stairs leading to the 12th floor are closed. The elevators are closed too. Calling through the tower spirit, no response. What did Archmage Philby say? In this situation, she must take charge of the overall situation. A half-step legend from the same sect as the Nordmark mage. Her authority in the mage tower is almost second only to the Nordmark mage. Moreover, she should be able to convince the public no matter what order she gives, and even if there is any problem, she should be able to shoulder the responsibility. Master Philby is not here, she is at the accelerator today. She probably doesn't know the situation here. Then contact her quickly. But the portal is closed. The moment the thunder fell, the teleportation gate was already closed. In order to ensure the safety of the mage tower and the safety of teleportation, such a facility with huge output and huge energy interference would be closed immediately. Therefore, running to the accelerator through the portal, or even throwing a box containing information, has become an impossible option. Then make a call. The external communication channel is closed, and the tower spirit refuses to send messages to the outside world. What about electromagnetic communication? A magician with quick hands has already dialed the electromagnetic communication device. However, the communicator, which is usually very useful and reliable, now gets the same response no matter how I dial it. Sis. 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 Electromagnetic communication relies on electromagnetic waves to transmit messages. The thunderstorm outside is so severe right now, it's completely impossible to get through. At the Mage Tower where the accelerator is located, or in other words, on Sarah's territory, Archmage Philby also fell into anxiety. First, there were heart palpitations, inexplicable palpitations, and a feeling that something was wrong. Then he turned on the scanning function of the Mage Tower and detected a strong lightning reaction in the headquarters, a completely unreasonable and completely unforeseen strong lightning reaction. Then all contact is cut off, all communications are cut off, and the portal is disconnected. Hello? What happened? Is there anyone over there to pick you up? No, not only was there no one in the Mage Tower who answered the call, but even the priests from the Nature Order could not dial the communication number. Archmage Philby tried 3 times before sighing and giving up the idea of contact. With such a strong thunder, the coverage area of electromagnetic wave disorder would reach 1 kilometer in diameter. 2 kilometers? Even more than 10 kilometers? All in all, this is a topic worth studying. Even if you are preparing for future battles, you should study it in advance. But now, Archmage Philby left the words "be prepared and respond at any time" and jumped out of the Mage Tower. The figure flashed, and then flashed again. It had crossed several territories in succession and flew back crazily. What happened over there? Little Greet, you must hold still. Wait for me. Teacher. How is the teacher? Outside the Mage Tower, Anivia was also running around anxiously. Different from other magicians and other nature priests, after turning twice, she suddenly lowered her head and turned into a raven, fluttering its wings and flying. The black wings pierced the sky, with a shining metallic luster, and rushed straight towards the nearby cliff. Mr. Sains. Mr. Sains, are you there? No answer. In other words, the time dragon heard her cry but was unwilling to respond. Anivia flies up and rushes forward, pulls up and dives, hovers and flies upward. Every time she rushed forward, there was an invisible force that stopped her from moving forward. Obviously, he looked at Time Dragon Sains lying on the cliff, but every time he rushed half a mile or a mile away, he could only feel ripples around him, gently stopping him. The other party doesn't want to see her. In other words, the other party was unwilling to answer her questions about the teacher's safety. Alas, although I have always known that the Time Dragon has a very high vision and would not even pay attention to legends, but at this time, it is really worrying. In fact, at this time, not to mention a level 10 priest came to inquire, even if Elder Batista came in person, he would not be ignored. Time Dragon Sains was lying on the cliff, staring in the direction of the Mage Tower, looking at it with fascination. Ah, it's so beautiful. The waves of time, the way they rise high, so rare and beautiful. Seeing it 10,000 times in the long river of time is nothing compared to seeing it up close once at the moment when it was set off. Slow down, slow down, slow down, don't walk so fast, let me take a good look at you. He left his own dragon's nest alone and followed Elder Batista here. He endured the noise every day and was disturbed several times a month. He wanted to do divination for those dragons. Why? It's not just for now. For this time, to see such beautiful waves with my own eyes. The river of time surges violently, accelerates suddenly, turns violently, and sets off huge waves. Witnessing this scene with his own eyes and having such a huge wave splash on his body has indescribable benefits for him and the Time Dragon. An experience like this can help them reach a new level in their growth. No one can bother me. The person who disturbed him was coming soon. In the distance, a golden dragon folded its wings, let the magical power propel itself, and flew forward quickly. Next to the dragon, an elf ship 10 feet long and 3 feet wide, the size of a canoe, with pointed ends, was speeding in mid-air. The elf princess sat in the cabin, looking through the gaps of green leaves on the porthole. The Lord of Thunder stood on the bow of the ship with his hands behind his back, his clothes still on the ground. The high-speed wind naturally bypassed his side, and then closed behind him to support the datestone-shaped ship. What's going on ahead? I don't know. Golden Dragon Diamond turned around, and every one of his golden dragon scales was filled with confusion. If you weren't here, I would have thought you had arrived at the Mage Tower and were attacking with all your strength. Lord of Thunder? This thunder, such a violent thunder, even if it cannot catch up with my full strength attack, it can still catch up with my serious attack power. Moreover, I used my mental power to attract and distort the thunder and lightning, but it actually didn't listen to me. Who stole my thunder? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1628. Monthly ticket adds 8 updates. Kristen, what's going on ahead? The elf ship vibrated slightly and gathered into a streamlined shape, so that the top of the cabin could recede to both sides in order to speed up as much as possible. Handrails were also thoughtfully provided so that passengers could hold the handrails to stand up steadily. Princess Norrell stood up from the cabin, leaned out of the cabin above her shoulders, and looked out. As soon as he glanced at it, he took a small breath of air. Hiss! So majestic! So brilliant! Just looking up, there is an instinctive trembling feeling, starting from the center of the head and flying downward along the cervical spine. From the spine to the tail vertebra, from the tail vertebra to the soles of the feet. The kind of fear that was similar to cold electricity stung the skin, soaked into the muscles, and flowed through the bones. Princess Norrell held her hands on the edge of the cabin, raised her head, and lost her voice for a long time. Oh my God, this is really. She had watched more than one elf ascend to the legend, warriors as well as spellcasters. She also watched the Lord of Thunder move from the 2nd level of legend to the 3rd level of legend. The scene in front of me was not that big in terms of scale. However, in terms of shocking power, the scene in front of me has a different kind of shock that goes straight into the heart. It seems that there is some kind of different rhythm in this lightning that connects the ground to the sky, pointing directly to the essence of this world. Ah, Mage Tower, this Mage Tower seems to be alive. Looking from the outside, the entire Mage Tower lights up, with electricity overflowing and shining brightly. However, what Princess Norrell paid attention to was not this, but the life force overflowing in the air. This thunder and lightning can actually carry such strong vitality, it feels like the surrounding space and this large area of nature are all lit up. Will thunder and lightning, the most destructive thunder and lightning, also be like this? She muttered to herself, lost in thought. Gradually, the spiritual power expands, from contemplation to meditation. The Lord of Thunder looked back at her, stepped into the cabin, and patted the bow of the ship gently. Ms. Felicia? Please find a safe place to stop and protect Norrell, can you? Okay, that's it, I'll bother you. The elf ship descended smoothly, landing at a position where the Mage Tower could be clearly seen with the naked eye but would not be affected by the explosion of the Mage Tower, and gently stopped. Then, the ship deforms and takes root, the trees uproot and their crowns spread. The thick and powerful branches formed a small nest, holding the elf princess in the crown of the tree. The dense branches and leaves obscured her figure. The Lord of Thunder patted the tree trunk with satisfaction, and then began to throw defense and early warning magic near the trunk one by one. Please protect her for a while I go to the front to check on the situation. Well, if she wakes up from meditation, tell her that I will be back soon and let her wait here for a while. Princess Norrell herself is half a legend, and this ancient elf tree is a legend in itself. There are so many protective magics right near the mage tower, visible to the naked eye, so nothing will happen. He arranged all the protection, then waved his hand and flew towards the mage tower. Flying around the tower, from the top to the bottom, all the windows and doors are closed, and there is no place to enter. On the contrary, near the mage tower, a group of nature priests looked anxious and looking forward to it. Seeing the Lord of Thunder coming, 2 or 3 people immediately flew up. "Your Mightiness! Your Mightiness! Your Excellency, Lord of Thunder! You've got it?" There was no warning in advance, and it suddenly happened like this. "I have no idea what happened, I have no idea what happened. So there is no use in asking you." The Lord of Thunder sighed slightly, waved his hand for them to move away, landed on the ground, and walked towards the mage tower step by step. 20 steps apart, 10 steps apart, 5 steps apart. Electricity flowed down the wall of the mage tower like water, making a crackling sound. The Lord of Thunder stretched out his hand towards the wall of the mage tower. For a moment, the bright, pure white electricity did not respond to his call and flew directly into his hand. He frowned slightly, adjusted his breath, added a batch of defensive spells to himself, took a few steps forward, and reached out again. This time, the lightning that fell along the wall finally fell naturally into his palm. He took a handful and looked at it carefully. Very strange, really very strange. These lightnings carried a strange activation power, and there were rules that he didn't understand. Just by holding it like this, you can feel it desperately trying to penetrate into your skin. Let every cell, let this hand, let the whole body jump for joy, wanting to swallow this power. Hello? Is there anyone? Is there anyone outside dash? A hoarse shout could be faintly heard from the gap in the long window of the mage tower. Messy, hoarse, and sounding a little panicked. What's going on with these mages? Even if it was attacked and the mage tower was forced to close, it wouldn't be such a mess, right? A level 17 or 18 archmage, a half-legendary, who goes overseas and presides over a mage tower, should have the ability and mentality to deal with any changes. The Lord of Thunder frowned. He added a magnification technique to himself and raised his voice. "I'm Christian Deckard. What's going on in there? What happened?" "Ah!" There was a loud sigh from inside, like 10, or even dozens of people, heaving a sigh of relief. After a pause, he continued. 2.5 hours ago, the mage tower suddenly closed all external access and entered a state of alert. All the elevators and stairs leading to the top of the tower were closed, and communication was impossible. It is speculated that it may be the Nordmark mage. How is he? Have no idea. Don't know, or don't dare to guess. The Lord of Thunder raised his eyebrows and breathed a sigh of relief. According to his experience, such a large-scale thunderstorm is probably not a bad thing. Advanced. In other words, in the process of advancement. However, in the past, when he advanced, he was given a large amount of intangible and insubstantial gifts from the world. This time, raging thunder and lightning continued to pound down the stairs for several hours. The brat finally changed direction. Instead of advancing from the direction of medical treatment or life, did you switch to the direction of thunder and lightning? It should be said that he finally looks a little bit like the plasticity system, a little bit like a disciple of my Lord of Thunder. However, this child's previous experience in thunder and lightning was not very good. Now suddenly using thunder and lightning to advance, or in other words, absorbing so many powerful thunder and lightning, will there be any problems? One is happy, the other is worried. He reached out and touched the wall of the mage tower, trying to let his spiritual power penetrate the wall, communicate with the tower spirit, and let him in. However, the defense of the mage tower was extremely strong, and there was a powerful torrent of thunder and lightning, which even interfered with his mental power. After repeated attempts to no avail, the Lord of Thunder had no choice but to heave a sigh of relief and raise his voice again. I know. I'm here. You can do whatever you need to do. Yes. Understood. Actually, there's nothing we can do. All the energy-consuming instruments are turned off. It's over, let's do whatever we need to do. We can't do experiments, but at least we can still calculate and verify, right? You. What are you talking about? When the instrument is turned off, don't you know how to rub your hands? Throw away your hammer. The experimental task is so heavy, don't be lazy. Even if the sky falls, there will be tall people holding it up. Now that the Lord of Thunder has arrived, we will have nothing to do with it. Go back to the laboratory. The magicians discussed each other and dispersed. The Lord of Thunder calmed down, holding the lightning in his hand and feeling it attentively. Just when I felt it, a long roar suddenly came from far away. Teacher! The Lord of Thunder turned back. In a flash of lightning, Philby's figure flashed, and moved forward rapidly. For a moment, he hovered a mile away from the mage tower, finally stopped, and breathed a sigh of relief. Teacher, it's great that you are here. So what's going on? I'm not sure either. Archmage Philby changed her teleportation to flying and slowly approached, looking up from time to time to look at the electric pillar above her head, with a look of shock and confusion on her face. He flew close to the Lord of Thunder, took a few deep breaths to calm down, and whispered. What I learned about the situation is this. The master and apprentice quickly exchanged information. Finally, Archmage Philby suppressed her shock and tried to sort out her thoughts. If you put it this way, the possibility that Little Greet is advancing is very high. We used an accelerator to conduct a series of experiments before, and the results are probably like this. She quickly dug through her space bag, took out a stack of record books, a few magic crystal cards, and half-finished papers, and presented them with both hands. The Lord of Thunder took the records with one hand and pointed at the mage tower. Go and feel those electric currents. There is something extraordinary inside, very extraordinary. By the way, when you feel it, be careful to protect yourself. Even my mental power cannot shake the electric current here. The teacher's warning must be taken seriously. Archmage Philby bowed deeply, and did not rush over. He slowly adjusted his physical and mental state, explored his spiritual power, and tried to sense it from a distance. Before she could touch the wall of electricity, a sudden strong wind blew up, causing her to stumble forward. Immediately afterwards, I heard a hollow voice, like a sleepwalker, coming from far above my head. You'd better stay away. Who are you? Archmage Philby looked up, quickly lifted up her skirt and ran towards the teacher. Teacher, this is His Excellency Time Dragon Sains. Time Dragon. The Lord of Thunder crooned softly. Wild winds flowed from the sky, and the Time Dragon Sains descended slowly, still maintaining his faint voice, like it was extracted from outside time. You two are standing here together, disturbing time too much. Is something going to happen to little Gretel? Before the Lord of Thunder could reply, Archmage Philby asked anxiously. Time Dragon Sains shook his head slightly. He won't. But if you get so close again and go, well, feel, experience, communicate, the time disturbance is too great, I can't see clearly, it's very likely that something will happen to you. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1629. Archmage Philby winked fiercely and pulled the teacher away with force. Although Time Dragon doesn't talk much, at least he doesn't lie to others, or rather, he doesn't bother to lie to others. If he says there will be trouble, there will definitely be trouble. If he says something will happen, there is a high probability that something will happen. As for why something happened, it's a very simple reasoning. Archmage Philby felt that she already had a lot of understanding of thunder and lightning. If she were fed a little more new types of lightning and a lot of energy, she might be able to hit the legend uncontrollably. But at the scene where Gretel advanced, if he tried to challenge the legend again, the disturbance to the world would be too great. Greet is the beloved son of the world, and nothing may happen to him, but he may be in trouble. While thinking about this, she took the experimental record she submitted from the teacher's hand and took it back. "Teacher, give this to me first." "Why, can't you see it first?" "Oops. The record of this experiment is incomplete. The key part is with Gretel. When he successfully advances, we will chat slowly. While chatting, listen to his insights and watch at the same time." The Lord of Thunder stared at his female disciple with suspicion, with an expression on his face that said, "You can't even find a good reason to coax me." Archmage Philby was sweating slightly on her forehead, so she stretched out her hand to grab it. "Teacher, this experiment is a bit contrary to common sense. It's best to go to the accelerator, adjust the experiment records directly, and compare them. It's no problem to just start the experiment. You are purely relying on your brain now, and it's easy to go wrong." The Lord of Thunder still grabbed the stack of record books and refused to let go. Archmage Philby had no choice but to tell the truth. "Teacher, Time Dragon never bothers to deceive humans. He said there will be problems, and there will definitely be problems. Teacher, if you look at these things, if you have any insights, use your mental power to pull the surrounding elements, sway for a few times, and little Gretel will advance. I'm afraid that he will have a big problem." With the teacher's current power level, no matter how much insight he gained, it would probably be impossible for him to suddenly advance from the legendary third level. However, even a small step can disturb the surrounding elements and create a storm. The Lord of Thunder raised his head and glanced at the thunder pillar in the sky, and was silent. "That's it? Just these thunders? They don't listen to me at all. The will of the world, the gift of the world, the thunder that pours down directly, even if I am the Lord of Thunder who has advanced to legend with the power of thunder and lightning, I can't shake it. On the contrary, I want to understand this new power. To master this new power, I not only need to seize the time to learn new knowledge, but also need direct perception and understanding. How long does it take for Gretel to advance? 3 days? 5 days? 10 days? If he doesn't study or understand now, when he completes the advancement, where can he find such a special thunder and lightning?" "Oh, teacher." Seeing his disinterested look, Archmage Philby was really a little anxious. While she was trying to use her brain to find new points of persuasion, she was also trying to look around. After looking around, I finally found an attack point. "Teacher, where is the master's wife? Didn't you come with her?" "Ah, she is nearby, she should also be meditating." The Lord of Thunder coughed lightly. With a flick of his fingertips, he wanted to send out a wind message to inform the situation and let Princess Norrell come directly. Or, his eyes turned and fell on the nature priests who were waiting anxiously not far away, and on the raven that had just landed and turned into a girl. In the impression, this seems to be Gretel's disciple? Let her run an errand? "Teacher, that's Master's wife, don't you go pick it up yourself." Archmage Philby showed a reproachful look. "Hurry up. Master's wife has followed you all the way here, and it's the last short period. You let her come by herself? That's not what happened. Aren't you afraid that she'll get angry and run away? Go quickly, hurry up." As he spoke, he took 3 or 2 steps to go around the back of the Lord of Thunder, reaching out and giving a false push. The Lord of Thunder was helpless by her urging and could only shake his head. Okay, I'll just go, ugh." As a teacher, he is actually being controlled by his disciples. "How can I start talking about this? It's too much, it's too much." He turned into a bolt of lightning, flew up, and threw it into the distance. Seeing this, Archmage Philby breathed a sigh of relief, carefully stepped back a few steps, landed 100 meters away from the mage tower, unfolded his mental power, and felt the active charge in the air. And Time Dragon Sains also moved comfortably, narrowed his eyes, and made himself lie down more comfortably. The disturbance has disappeared, it's great, I can concentrate on observation. Although he also likes to see the waves stirred up by the river of time, this does not mean that he likes to see the prospects that are so chaotic and so disturbed that he cannot see clearly. Not to mention, just now this man and woman, a half-step legend and a third-level legend, stood next to the mage tower, and the disturbance of the river of time blocked Gretel's information. The time dragon was satisfied. In Sky Dragon City, the dragon responsible for observing the magic array and paying attention to the situation on Dragon Island also breathed a sigh of relief. Thank God. The energy vibration just now was so powerful. So amazing. Especially when the Lord of Thunder comes. He almost wanted to call the elders. A third-level legend, why are you here to join in the fun? Well, I came here at the invitation of Sky Dragon City, and my destination, the first stop, was my disciple's mage tower. But could you please exercise some restraint? The abnormal movement of a mage tower has led to the flow of a large area of elements, and the mysterious locks of Sky Dragon City have clearly marked the areas that need attention. There's another one, and there's another third-level legend. If it breaks through like this again and pulls the surrounding elemental power, the mystery locks in Sky Dragon City will all be adjusted accordingly. Otherwise, a huge hole below will continuously attract power, and the entire mystery lock will cause problems. So many people were alerted, paying attention to him, and running for him, but Greed had no idea. He was already immersed in the advanced understanding, and was taken up quickly beforehand, overlooking the Mage Tower, the territory, the Dragon Island, and the Dragon City in the sky. Finally, he rose out of the world barrier and stared at the huge fireball flying from a distance, staring at the looming power in the fireball. The strong wind wrapped around the fireball, and the black wind crashing into the world's barrier, tearing the barrier apart, and pouring into it. Is that so? Is this what the Dragon Clan is struggling to resist? Is this the crisis the Dragon Clan is currently facing? It seems, as if, such a strong foreign enemy, even the Dragon Clan, needs to pay a huge price to resist. How many sacrifices will they make? How many compatriots will be killed or injured? Although it was too late to give birth overnight, and the young dragons born now could not fill the gap of the legendary dragon, but having more offspring and increasing the fertility rate would preserve the hope of the Dragon Clan's revival. To help them. Try to help them. Gretel's eyes circled along the world barrier, then sank at high speed again, returning to his own body. This time, the core of meditation underwent a special change that made him extremely happy. Lightning flashes, pouring down. Reaching the core of meditation, it is divided into thousands of threads and penetrates into every cell. After entering the cell, it continues to flow and surge into the chromosomes. As he focused his attention, he could see the entire chromosome continuously enlarging, showing dots one by one, unfolding strips one by one, and atoms one by one. And those high-energy electron streams rushing down pour into molecules and atoms. Then, each atom shimmered with light, jumping and flying, with so much energy that it was about to overflow. Jump. Jump. A large amount of energy is injected into the atom to enter the transition state. And because the energy is extremely strong, a large number of atoms enter the transition state at the same time in a short period of time. Instead forming a stable state, the energy increases, the energy loss slows down, and the atoms that enter the transition state have the possibility of falling back to their original position reduce. One point after another, next to each other on the chromosome chain, emitted a shimmering golden light. Very good, I have taken another step forward in my extraordinary position. I am one step closer to becoming a legend. Greet is immersed in the work of turning every chromosome point, or as many chromosome points as possible, into something extraordinary. Let go of your mental power, enter into deep meditation as much as possible, and allow yourself to accept the overwhelming influx of external forces. The power gained at this time is 1 point better, and 10 points more is 10 points. Even if the chromosome chains in the meditation core are not all dyed gold, but half, or even 1/3, it is still good. By the way, my meditation world, the entire meditation world, should be opened as wide as possible to absorb and store power as much as possible. If the stored power is enough, then the body can be transformed to have enough energy, even if all the chromosome chains in the meditation core change color, allowing it to resonate with the physical body and the physical body to follow the upgrade, it still requires strength. Without power, it cannot enter the steady state and has to go back again. This explains why Koufan slowly degrades and cannot maintain its own power in areas where elements are extremely scarce. Greet meditated deeply. The entire top floor of the Mage Tower is closed, and the elevators and stairs are completely blocked by the tower spirit. The dimensional anchor is turned on, and all transmissions are prohibited. As a result, the entire top floor was empty, with no other people around. Cyrilla circled him alone, turning around, turning around, turning around. What a big thunder! What a bright thunder and lightning! She had also seen that when Gretel advanced, the surrounding elements surged like a whirlpool and hung upside down above his head. But this thunder and lightning, this lightning that fell from the top of the Mage Tower, regarded the roof as nothing, and directly penetrated his body. Cyrilla raised her head, stretched out her hand to touch the edge of the thunder column, poked it, and then poked it again. The crackling sound was gentle, and it didn't look like it was about to burst and hurt someone. Cyrilla sat down quietly on the edge. The study room was not big enough to transform into a dragon shape, so she sat opposite Gretel, holding her chin in one hand and holding the falling lightning in her other hand. Greet, work harder. Absorb all these lightnings. Hey, the human body seems too small. Do you want to turn into a silver dragon and suck it? It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Giolan 2020. Chapter 1630. Transforming into a silver dragon was impossible, at least not for the time being. The advancement of a magician mainly involves sorting out one's understanding of the world through meditation, exploring the mysteries of the world, and the power to absorb and sort out the gifts of the world. This process is basically meditating non-stop. During the process, you may be able to open your eyes and take a breath, or even eat and drink some water, but strenuous exercise is not allowed. Not even fighting. Transforming into a dragon is even worse. Do you think mages are muscular warriors? Breakthrough in the battle. This does not exist for magicians. Even if you want the power given by the world and the elements you absorb to flow throughout your body and transform your body, you must first absorb it through the world of meditation, and then slowly feed it back to your body from your spirit. During this process, it is better to be still than to move, and to be at ease and not agitated. The fewer variables, the better. The fewer variables, the more advanced people can focus all their efforts on their own changes. What's more, Greet has changed a lot now. In the core of meditation, the chromosome points are lit one by one, shining one by one, full of power. Every chromosome spot lights up, and with every breath, more power flows in. It seems that entering the extraordinary chromosome can attract, accept, and control more powers, and can also respond to more extraordinary powers. Gretel wholeheartedly attracted external forces and refined his meditation core. Last time we got 4 pairs of chromosomes, last time we got 5 pairs, this time the target is also 5 pairs. Keep 5 pairs. 6 pairs is best, 7 pairs are also fine. Past half of the advanced level and past half of the transformation mission. Before becoming a legend, it is best to turn the entire meditation core into gold when you are halfway to becoming a legend. The lightning became more and more intense. Archmage Philby stood 100 steps away, looking up at the mage tower, and suddenly screamed. Ah! Oh no! What's the matter? Anavia turned to look at her blankly. Archmage Philby rushed to the mage tower, touched the heavy tower door that had fallen heavily, and pushed hard. The tower door didn't move at all. I pushed it again, but it didn't move. I tried again to penetrate with mental power, but it didn't work. Master Philby, it's dangerous, don't get so close. Anavia approached cautiously. Archmage Philby took a deep breath, shook her long hair vigorously, threw her self-amplification spell, and raised her voice. Everyone, protect yourselves. Reinforce the cages. Watch all experimental animals. Don't let them suddenly go into heat. You don't either. In an instant, Anavia turned pale and ran back. After running for 2 steps, he threw himself on the ground and transformed into a vigorous black panther. He passed by the elders and shouted while running. Go back quickly. Reinforce the animal cages. Comfort the experimental animals. Isolate them if you can, and control them if you can. Don't let them go into heat and become manic. What's terrible, when the teacher advanced last time, it seemed that all the experimental animals showed signs of estrus. This time, don't do it again. The number of dragon beasts in the animal pen has increased several times compared to last time, and the number of other magical beasts has also increased several times. There are also those who are in the late stages of pregnancy, those who have just laid eggs, and even those who have just succeeded in artificial insemination. They can't afford to bother. A group of nature priests rushed back with a roar. While running back, he kept turning his head and looking back. Thank God, what is falling in the sky now is thunder and lightning, not the cloud pillar from last time. There was no sudden strange power fluctuation around the mage tower. They still had time, at least a day or 2 to prepare. Naturally, the priests tried their best to comfort themselves, speed up, and work hard. Even Idian and Ashmoonsong, who were rushing over, and the barbarian Bernard, who had been training under Idian, also joined the effort. In the mage tower, the magicians who received the reminder from Archmage Philby all turned pale and were in a hurry. Oops! I didn't expect this to happen again. What happened last time? Oh, last time we organized defense outside and then retreated in time. Retreat quickly. We can't evacuate. We are all locked in the mage tower. We can't get out. We can't hide. Tolling. Tolling. Open the door. Open the door. The strong energy reaction has not ended yet, please stay indoors and stay quiet. In the name of the person with the highest authority in the change department, I ask you to open the door immediately. The person with the highest authority in the conjuration system seconded the proposal. The person with the highest authority in the necromancy department seconded the proposal. Insufficient authority, insufficient authority. Open the door quickly. If you don't open the door, we will have to blow the door open. There was a soft sound, and the walls, ceiling, and floor near the tower door lit up with brilliance. Bang 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 bang, several rays of rainbow light shot out, and a cage was built around the mage who made threats and gathered energy in his hands. A behavior that threatens the safety of the mage tower has been detected. According to Article 5 of the Mage Tower Safety Code, the tower spirit must take advance control measures. With a flash, all the mages present fell silent. After a pause, the birds and beasts suddenly dispersed. I don't want to have sex with someone out of nowhere. Where is the sobering potion? Has anyone prepared it? I'm afraid I can't bear the sobriety potion. I'm going to lie down on the bed first. Who will give me a petrifying ray? Come and save me when the matter is over. Alec, I love you. I don't love you. I'm going back to my room to drink the sobering potion, please give me a break. Golem, can the golem be used? I wonder if it can be used. How long has it been since you washed your golem? Hey, don't use skeletons. Not even skins. That's just an illusion. An illusion. There was a commotion in the mage tower. Of course, there are also a group of young and virtuous magicians among them, in other words, magicians who have no function anymore and are calm. Not only did he remain calm, he also shouted at the students. What's the trouble? Keep working. I don't know if something will happen. Do experiments. Keep doing experiments. Our schedule is very tight. Don't scare yourself because of things that may not happen. Things like estrus don't come up suddenly and you can't help but have sex immediately. Everyone prepares a large basin of ice water, and then let me continue work. No. Teacher. Water making technique. Ice ray. Water making technique. Ice ray. Water making technique. Ice ray. Gretel didn't know that because of his great achievements in the last advancement, everyone in the mage tower was frightened and uneasy. He was calm, and constantly strengthening his chromosomes in the world of meditation. The 10th pair, the 11th pair, the 13th pair, the 14th pair, the 5 pairs are completed, and there is more than enough energy left. Keep going. Continue to strengthen. The 15th pair. By the 15th pair, I feel that I have reached my limit. It's not that the input power is not enough, but my own meditation core. The carrying capacity has reached the limit, and it will collapse if it takes any more. But the power from outside is still pouring in. What should we do? What to do? God cannot take it, but he will be blamed for it. Gretel set her mind aside, regardless of trivial matters, and unfolded her entire world of meditation. Swallow. Swallow. The chromosomes in the meditation core have reached their limit, and I have recorded so many other chromosomes. Bacterial, fruit fly, devil frog, devil lizard, red dragons, black dragons, crystal dragons, the emerald dragons, silver dragons. There's Cyrilla, there's father-in-law Andre, there's mother-in-law Cynthia, there's Uncle Vasca. Of course, these can only be embodied for reference. You must not copy them all when you transform into a silver dragon. But, yes, it's better than nothing. After going back and putting it together and dismantling it, I can transform into a silver dragon. From the scales, skin, bones, muscles, internal organs, to the chromosome level, everything can become a pure silver dragon. I don't believe it. All these chromosomes are constructed using extraordinary methods, and they still can't swallow so much power. When this thought came up, Gretel immediately calmed down and continued working. And Cyrilla, who was lying opposite him and staring at him without blinking, quickly noticed something strange. Huh? What is Gretel doing? Cyrilla stood up, blinked her eyes, and sniffed hard. After a pause, he placed his palms on the table, his entire upper body across the table, his cheek almost touching Greet's face, and took another strong sniff. She frowned, her expression dubious. After thinking for a while, he stepped back a little, and a faint silhouette of a silver dragon appeared behind him. The dragon's head reached forward and pressed directly against Gretel's mouth and nose. He took a deep breath, Weird. It really smells like a silver dragon. Is Gretel going to turn into a silver dragon? There isn't enough room here. She looked left and right, unable to decide whether to move the furniture to make some room for Gretel, or simply pick up Gretel and move her to the dragon's nest on the roof. For the former, it seems that after moving all the furniture, there is still not enough space. For the latter, it is not good to disturb Gretel now, right? Oh, it would be great if Gretel could wake up. Gretel did not wake up. A single set of chromosomes is of course incomparable to the countless chromosomes in the meditation world and cells. However, it is just the data in the record. To use the power of the world's gifts to materialize and build it, even if it is only materialized in the spiritual world, the energy required is extremely huge. Moreover, the chromosomes of dragons are not only 10 times more complex and 10 times larger than the number of chromosomes of humans. For Gretel to materialize the silver dragon's chromosomes, the amount of time and mental energy required is an extremely terrifying figure. 2 days have passed. Cyrilla looked at Gretel's face, sat next to him, and smelled him. It still had a very familiar and good-smelling natural smell, mixed with the cool smell of silver dragon, and there was no danger signal at all that alerted her. It looks like everything went smoothly, and there's no need to transform or find a way to move him upstairs, but... The silver dragon girl breathed a sigh of relief, then made a sad face and touched her belly. I'm hungry. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1631. Chapter 1626. Gretel, the silver dragon you turned into, seems too similar to me. It is impossible to live without food. Cyrilla's space bag contains enough food for half a year. Bread, biscuits, cakes, puddings, flour, potatoes, sweet potatoes, corn, pigs, cattle, sheep, chickens, ducks, fish, low-level monsters, mid-level monsters. But Cyrilla took out a small piece of bread filled with meat and stuffed it into her mouth. Chewing and chewing, chewing and chewing, his expression became more and more sad. After a pause, he pinched out another small orange cake and took a bite. Honey juice overflowed and soaked his lips and teeth. Cold. It's all cold. It's not the kind that's hot and toasty, just taken out of the oven, filled with steam and fragrant. Without heat and fragrance, the deliciousness of the food will be reduced by more than half. Cyrilla groaned in annoyance, then dug into the space bag. Bread and desserts can only sweeten her mouth. She wants to eat meat, lots and lots of meat. It's all cold. It's all frozen. Take it out, defrost it, wash it, peel it, cut it into large pieces and then into small pieces. Then set up the pot, set up the stove, set up the clay pot, or set up the grill, cook and bake hot, and throw in various seasonings for seasoning. Ah, it's so annoying. So annoying. Bernard used to do all these jobs. She doesn't want to cook meat. I don't want to grill either. I just want to eat ready-made. Tailing, Cyrilla hummed in a low voice, planning to ask the towering and the invisible servants that the towering could control to help her cook meat. Although tolling is a clumsy thing, he won't move unless he gives orders. Once he's taught it, he's just rigid and doesn't know how to change it. For example, if you tell a pot of delicious stew how much salt to add, you will never try to make it lighter today, try to add some chili powder tomorrow, and try to add some rock sugar the day after tomorrow. But let it do the work, and you'll at least get a standard pot of stew that won't go wrong, and you won't have to wash, cut, and cook it yourself. The most important thing is that after eating, you don't have to wash the dishes yourself. Miss Cyrilla. Tolling responded softly. Cyrilla was about to speak, but suddenly she became discouraged again. Gretel is still advancing. Gretel is still meditating. She was cooking, baking, and most importantly, eating here. Would it affect Gretel? Will it disturb him? Forget it, let's just stay there, she is just a little hungry. For Yinlong, it doesn't matter if she is so hungry. She leaned back obediently, looked at Gretel, stuffed a meat pie into her mouth, looked at Gretel again, and stuffed a pumpkin pie into her mouth. Wow, what a big sacrifice she made. When Gretel successfully advances, I must let him have a good meal with me. Let him cook it for me with his own hands. Yes, that's it. Gretel didn't know that he had already been booked as a chef. Moreover, he was required to fry, cook and bake dishes that would be enough to feed an adult silver dragon. At this moment, he was still immersed in the world of meditation, building various chromosomes in his collection one by one. It is obviously impossible to use the chromosomes of the silver dragon to construct it. The gifts of the world are so precious, and you have to practice your skills with something else first. For example, bacteria, such as fruit flies. Gretel worked hard, Escherichia coli, Shigella dysenteriae, Streptococcus, Drosophila. After several sets of chromosomes were built, Greet finally felt that his proficiency was enough and he could try his hand at the silver dragon. The first chromosome. The second chromosome. Article 3, Article 4, Article 5. Ah, so many, so much work. Is there any way to be lazy? Speaking of which, the chromosomes I measured only had bright and dark, or golden spots. I haven't even finished electrophoresis at each point, let alone genetic sequencing. Therefore, it is definitely not possible to fix these chromosomes using the method of the previous life. What's more, what is the gift of the world? That thing is not from the previous life in any case. So Gretel simply gave up. In other words, simply let go and hope for magic. Silver dragon, he thought, what does a silver dragon look like? If these chromosomes would keep dividing, copying, cell after cell, they would eventually build up into a silver dragon. So, what will they look like? Thinking like this, the appearance of a silver dragon appeared in his mind. From the macroscopic level of skeletal muscles, to the more subtle blood vessels and internal organs, to the way muscles and bones move and the way energy flows. Thinking about it this way, the appearance of the silver dragon became more vivid in my mind. Those chromosomes grew, and appeared one by one. Gradually, in the meditation world, a specific and subtle silver dragon seemed to appear. Gretel suddenly felt a little hot. The heat rose from an unknown place and soaked into his limbs and bones. Noise, conflict, rush. The vastness quickly changed from a ball of warm water to a ball of hot water. Gradually, it seemed to turn into molten iron and rush out of the body. Greet stood up suddenly. Without enough time to look around, or even enough time to see that there was Cyrilla next to him, he jumped out of the desk and ran up. Run to the stairs, step on it, jump on it, step on it again, and jump on it again. At this moment, he was traveling entirely by physical strength, but his whole body was as fast as if he was teleporting. After a few consecutive flashes, he had already reached the top of the mage tower. There were no partition walls or columns, only the dome converging inwards from all directions, supporting an empty hall. In the center of the hall, silver was shining, gold was shining, and countless gold and silver coins were rolling. Among the piles of gold and silver, there were also small jewelry boxes buried, as well as gold plates, silver bowls, gold wine bottles, gold candlesticks, etc. scattered sideways. That's the dragon's nest. It's Cyrilla's dragon lair. It was a place in the mage's tower that was heavily sealed and heavily guarded. No one was allowed to enter except Cyrilla. However, Gretel was not guarded, allowing him to rush in without any hindrance. At this point, Gretel could finally let go of the restraints on himself. Cyrilla grabbed a pancake the size of a copper plate in one hand and a smoked chicken leg in the other. When she rushed up after her, she saw Gretel stretching out his hands to receive the lightning. His whole figure became increasingly blurry, as if to melt in the lightning. No, not melting, but expansion, deformation. The height is increased, the body is elongated, and the whole person expands 10 times or 100 times. He raised a pair of bright silver wings from his back, and with just one blow, strong winds blew up, causing the gold and silver coins on the ground to jingle and roll. Sirara's eyes were not attracted by the light of these gold and silver for a moment. She stared at Greed closely, without blinking, half with joy, half with confusion. Wow! Gretel, you have finally turned into a silver dragon. This time you have become great, different from before. It feels so real. Hey, something seems wrong. I also feel like something is wrong. Gretel lowered his head, looked at himself doubtfully, and froze. Oops, when I was constructing chromosomes, did I choose Sirara's chromosomes as a template? The cat doesn't feel right today, maybe he has a secondary yang, the cat's heart rate has soared for no reason today. Although his body temperature is still low and the antigens are not abnormal, his heart rate has soared. Cat will work hard to finish 4,000 words today, and then rest more. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1632. Oops. Sirala saw it. What to do? Destroy corpses and eliminate traces. If he were conducting experiments, studying transfiguration, and using something else to turn into a silver dragon, then what Gretel would have to do would be to immediately destroy the corpse and eliminate all traces, but now, it was himself who turned into a silver dragon, himself. Then the option of destroying corpses and removing traces does not exist. Not only does it not exist, but the option of shrinking on the spot and shrinking into a miniature silver dragon also does not exist. That will only make things worse. It would only make Sirala rush forward, take him into her arms without any explanation, and rub, 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 rub. Then Gretel instantly changed from dragon form to human form with a pop sound. Then he quickly lowered his head, turned his back to Sirara, fell to the ground, reached out and touched. Thank God, he is still normal in human form, and all the parts are still there. Greed slowly shrank into a ball, slowly got up, turned back one by one, and looked at Sirala. Sirara stood behind him, a short distance away, stretching out a hand forward. When he turned around, she almost touched the tip of his nose. Then, he retreated an inch, then an inch, then an inch. Her face looked extremely aggrieved. Greed almost felt that if he stretched out his hand and rubbed it, water would drip from those blue eyes. But there was no way, there was really no way that my integrity could be shattered to this extent and turned into a toy dragon for her to rub. Sirara, I'm going to continue meditating. Greed took a step back awkwardly, then took another step back. His foot stepped on the silver coin and it slipped on the ground. He leaned back and sat down on the spot. Luckily he reacted quickly enough and added a feather falling technique to himself. However, what is under this butt? The silver coin is not like the silver coin, and the gold bowl is not like the gold bowl. It has many triangles, it is a bit sharp, and it is very. At this moment, it was obviously impossible to reach out and take out the thing under the butt in front of Sirara. Gretel secretly threw out a few mage hands, cleaned a small area of the floor, and allowed himself to sit a little more comfortably. Then, he closed his eyes and quickly fell into meditation. Hurry! Hurry! Start meditating now. His advancement is not over yet, not even half of it. By the time his advancement is over, at least 2 or 3 days will have passed. By then, this issue will be over, and Sirara will probably not continue. Thinking about it? Fortunately, he has become extremely proficient at meditating. Close your eyes, adjust your breathing, and soon enter a quiet, selfless, calm, and peaceful state. And the mighty thunder continued to pour down, entering his meditation world. Under the guidance of his mental power, those powerful forces pounced on every chromosome record he had stored. Present, 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 present. The magicians of the plasticity department were the first to feel something was wrong. The long white mist fell bit by bit from top to bottom, spreading and soaking. It doesn't look like a substantial mist, it doesn't contain water vapor, and it doesn't make people feel chest tight. However, it spread over the top of the cabinet, over the tabletop, over the experimental instruments, over their shoulders and hands, and gradually submerged their feet. This is. What the hell is this? Will it affect us? Pay attention to the readings of the instruments. Pay attention to the readings. Close everything you can. Watch out for an explosion. Is that thing from last time coming again? I mean, do you feel hot in your body, or something like that? Do you have a sobriety potion at hand? Or would it be better to have a mechanized mind? Ah, what is this? The magician's eyes were quickly attracted. The fog is thick and thin, sparse in some places and condensed in others. And the shapes of those condensed places seem a bit familiar, as if they have been seen somewhere. These winding and winding things, little by little, are they chromosomes, double helix-shaped chromosomes? Ah, these are the chromosome fragments. Yes, this is the one I made. A younger magician's eyes widened and he almost threw himself on the translucent strip. I still remember the characteristics. They are exactly the same. However, he did it many times in a row before he was sure that what he had made was accurate and the plan was perfect and did not need to be changed. Mage Nordmark probably only took a glance, right? How could he remember it so accurately? What is this? A fly? The other magician took a step back, waved, then took a step back, and waved again. Why are there flies here? Flies condensed into white mist, why are they here? His fingers passed in vain among the flies. The white mist fluctuated but did not disperse, as if it existed in two different worlds from him. The colleague next to him touched him. This is a fruit fly. Master Nordmark has done many experiments using this creature. Have you not read his papers? Wait, what is this? A huge shadow made of white mist slowly descended downwards. Because the body was so huge, when the bottom of the body sank under the floor, the back, or the top of the torso, was not exposed, and it was impossible to tell what kind it was. There was only one magician standing in the corner of the laboratory, looking up at the group of angular muscles in front of him, and asked hesitantly. Maybe, a dragon. So why dragons? Why are there dragons in the meditation world of Master Nordmark? For high-level mages, magicians above level 15, the step-by-step process of advancement is the process of the meditation world becoming materialized step by step. In this process, in their meditation world, there will be water flow, flames, mountains, and lightning. These existences are transformed from virtual reality, elements bound by mental power, into the essence of this world. Then, they can better draw the power of this world. But dragons. A dragon. Another dragon. Another dragon. There are 5, if I read correctly, there are 5. From top to bottom, there are magicians rubbing their eyes and counting in the plasticity system, protection system, conjuration system, and transformation system. Number. And they are different types of dragons, although they are all condensed with white mist, they all look different, and I can recognize them. There are huge differences between black dragons and white dragons, silver dragons, and golden dragons. So why are there so many dragons in Master Nordmark's meditation world? A magician with a talent for change even had the courage to poke a silver dragon in the belly. The silver dragon, which was only as big as a buffalo, immediately turned its head and sprayed a mouthful of white mist at him. Does he want to build a dragon island in the meditation world? The bad news is that the cat's heart rate has not dropped, and the fever has not gone away, 37.4, which is a little higher. The good news is that the fever is not higher yet and I am sweating a little. I did another antigen test that night, and it was still a bad result. I hope it's not Yang, I just caught a cold without covering myself with a quilt last night, I'm shivering and say goodbye, bless you. Especially, please protect the cat's father from being infected. The cat's father is still fine now. I hope the cat's father will always be fine. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1633. Silver Dragon. Red Dragon. Golden Dragon. Black Dragon. Crystal Dragon. Emerald Dragon. In Gretel's meditation world, dragons of various sizes appear constantly, ups and downs. If the shadows formed by the white mist were just phantoms when he advanced last time, this time, they give people a real feeling. Yes, those dragons are indeed made of white mist, but they are different. They look more vivid and more detailed. The most important thing is that their state of being in harmony with nature and elements is almost a bit like real dragons. Only level 17. Yes, Mage Nordmark is only level 17. There were size one after another. The magicians of the plasticity department held their breaths and felt the fluctuations and resonance of the white mist dragon shape and the surrounding elements. The transformation magician's eyes were bright, and he carefully observed the bones, muscles and even internal organs of these dragons. If it weren't for the friends around him, he would almost lie down in the white mist. In the corner on the other side, a magician has already taken out his drawing board, brushing and drawing, desperately trying to record the appearance of the dragons. What is the ratio of length to width, the shape of the dragon's wings, the tip of the dragon's tail and the thorns on the dragon's back? How can we usually have such an opportunity? Even if there is a dragon around, it is impossible to get so close. Every detail on the body can be looked at carefully, and you can also jot down and draw casually next to it. The necromancy magicians were even more excited. If he hadn't been trying to fight against the possibility of Estrus, desperately pouring sobering potion into himself, and losing his mechanized mind, he would have pounced on and hugged those giant white mist dragons. Get the jars and fill them up. Get the box and lock it up. Get a device specifically designed to restrain the soul and seal it. Dragon. The spirit of the dragon. If you can grab some fragments and take them back, you can make a bone dragon or something, and you will be successful in this life. If it doesn't work, try pouring it into dragon eggs, pouring it into demon lizard eggs, pouring it into your other undead creatures. Teacher. Teacher, calm down. This is the meditation world of the Plague Lord. The Plague Lords. A basin of cold water was poured down. The necromancer, whose eyes were red and who was about to pounce, shivered and calmed down. The Lord of Plagues is something you can't mess with. So they could only watch with wide eyes. Try to see, try to remember, try to feel. You don't even dare to release too much mental power. Someone else's materialized meditation world collides with your mental power. If there is damage, whose fault is it? Why does he have so many dragons in his collection? Have no idea. How did he collect so many dragons? Do not know either. This dragon looks like Angzi. That's right, look, it's chubby, and its tail sways left and right, just like when Angzi was a child. Only when he was a child, when he swung his tail, he liked to click left and right, and then hit a circle. In the Sky Dragon City, the dragons responsible for observing the situation on Dragon Island and monitoring whether there are any abnormalities in various places, especially whether there are outsiders from the small world who have come in and come down to Dragon Island to cause destruction, have already captured the magic circle. The scope is aimed at the Mage Tower. Centered on the top of the Mage Tower, the area covered by the fog is getting bigger and bigger. The white mist dragon shape condensed in the mist, as well as other giant beasts, became increasingly clear. Observing these white mist dragon shapes brought them rare pleasure in their boring life, but it also brought them endless doubts. By the way, if he collects so many dragons, will he, uh, do weird things to us in the future. What are you talking about? The steel dragon Bastos walked over in a trembling manner. The two guys who were fishing for fun were excited. Before they could switch the direction of the magic circle, the head of the steel dragon had already stretched out. So many dragons, dragons made of white mist, interesting, Batista. Batista. Come and have a look. Are there any little dragons of yours among the gadgets here? After withdrawing from the world barrier or withdrawing from various energy supply points of the magic circle, a large number of idle dragons came over. It's so interesting, it looks like. So how did he do it? Should we go down and take a look? It's inconvenient, there have to be a few people here to take over. Then you can keep it? I'm going down to take a look anyway. I've been tired for a long time and there's nothing interesting to do. Instead of sleeping, I might as well go down and take a walk. Then I still think sleep is more important. While the legendary dragons were talking about each other, there were already adult dragons and mature dragons slipping away. Especially Vasca, a group of old guys are coming to watch his brother-in-law, so they have to come and report. Unfortunately he couldn't run away. It's not right to say that he didn't run away. It should be that there were a group of silver dragons, gold dragons, and brass dragons hanging behind his butt. Their wings spread out, making a huge roaring sound, and they rushed towards the mage tower on the ground. Then, far, far away, there was a sudden stop. There is a man standing near the mage tower. It can't be said to be nearby. It is at least 2 kilometers away from the mage tower. He stands with his hands behind his back, floating in the void, and his height is similar to the giant ball made of clouds and mist. That person, to the naked eye, is just a tiny dot. However, if you don't look at it with your naked eyes, but with your spiritual sense, or with the dragon's innate perception of elements, you will see that it is a huge existence. A being bigger than the legendary dragon. A being bigger than the legendary second-level dragon. Deep, condensed, rich, dangerous. What are you doing here? From a distance, a somewhat familiar voice floated in the wind. Vasker was granted amnesty and quickly turned to the side and landed on the side cliff 5 kilometers away from the mage tower. Uncle Diamond, we saw something strange here from the sky, so we came over to take a look. This is Master Nordmark's teacher, His Excellency the Lord of Thunder, a third-level legend. Golden Dragon Diamond replied lazily, scratched his paws, and pushed aside a cloud of mist beside him. Get out of the way. Land here. This distance is enough for you. If you get closer, the Lord of Thunder will be worried that you will affect the advancement of his disciples, so he will drive you away, which will be bad. The Lord of Thunder would not take action unless absolutely necessary. Directly below him, an ancient elf tree held up an umbrella, and Princess Norrel was sitting under the canopy, comprehending the active and changing natural forces in front of her. The Lord of Thunder stared at the clouds and mist in front of him, as well as the torrent of elements that transformed from the lightning pillar into a vortex of cloud and mist. While observing, I was also constantly speculating. How did these cloud beasts like little Gretel come about? If we go one step further, will these cloud beasts turn into real, living dragons? Or at least a dragon beast with a body? The most important thing is, when he advances to level 17, which spell will he construct? When I communicated with him some time ago, it seemed that I had never heard him mention any unique spells he was researching recently. I had a good sleep last night. My fever has gone down and my heart rate has returned to normal. It's a little bit faster this morning. I guess it's a cold? But I still have to lie down for 2 days and let me write 4,000 words for a few more days. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1634. Greet really had not thought about what spells he would build into the meditation core after advancing to level 17. His level rose too quickly. For other magicians, it might take a year or two, or at least half a year, to learn and master an 8-ring magic. And from level 15 to level 16, and then from level 16 to level 17, if you don't learn 10 or 8 8-ring spells, how can you be embarrassed to advance? You can't even see anyone when you go out. A magician who does not master a batch of 8th level spells and does not thoroughly study a batch of 8th level spells is not qualified to call himself a true 8th level magician. He lacks combat effectiveness and insufficient research capabilities, so what use are you? Even if it's a 9-ring spell, you still have to study it and understand it. Only by understanding through research can we steadily step onto the 17th level. In the core of meditation, it is impossible to directly build the 9-ring spell, which means that the growing spiritual power has nowhere to go, which means that this level 17 magician has a weak foundation. But Gretel didn't do this. He didn't get up by fighting and killing. There is no need to have a bunch of important spells at this level in his hands to rely on them to dominate the mages at the same level for a few years, 10 years, or decades. Moreover, after he became the subject leader, studying spells of this level accounted for even less in his daily time schedule. What he needs to do is to give research directions, break down research needs, and find research resources. Then he watched his archmages, high-level mages, and half-step legends use various methods to achieve his goals. In this process, whether or not he has learned the 8th level or even 9th level spells, and how much he has learned, will have a very low impact on his research progress. You have to learn, and you also have to memorize spell models. However, splitting and combining these spells, understanding every detail of them, and then developing your own spells can be put aside first. Unless it is a spell that is urgently needed for your own research, such as limited wishing, or the purpose of your own research, such as hematopoiesis. Other spells can be memorized by rote. Therefore, when the world's gifts surged down, filling the meditation world, filling the core, expanding the area, thickening the shell, and having enhanced all the spell configurations in the meditation world, Gretel had to face this problem. In this wave, which magic will be constructed? Hurry up, I'm already going to, can't eat anymore, hiccups. In the center of the dragon's nest, there is a large oak tree with a straight trunk and dense and green branches and leaves, shaking dozens or hundreds of fruits on the tree, constantly urging. All fruits, all spell structures, all auxiliary calculation configurations, and all records are all shining. The oak staff tried its best to bear fruit one after another, and stretched the fruit one after another. It felt like it was almost bursting. Those shaking fruits will explode with a pop the next moment, exploding a field of juice. No, it should be a field of magic runes. I really can't eat anymore. The little snake is wrapped around the tree trunk, its body looming, and looming. At this moment, the length and thickness of its body are comparable to that of a large python, or even the largest anaconda in the rich forest. As for the solidity of the body, Sirara stretched out her hand and poked it, and then poked it again. I am sure that it is indeed an entity, and it is unlikely to go back to its original state in a short time. In the meditation world, screams, cries, and please come and go. Even if Gretel is as stone-hearted and puts his whole heart and soul into the spell structure, he also knows that there is not much time left for him. Moreover, there is really nothing he particularly needs among the 7th, 8th, and 9th ring spells. For example, take the limited wishing spell. The difficulty of this spell lies in the way of making a wish and the setting of conditions, not in the spell structure itself. For example, for the protective psychic barrier, he already has enough passive effects and magic equipment, so he doesn't need this. For example, the solar explosion of the evocation department was one of the most powerful killing spells before by Senior Brother. Gretel could only say that he had no use for it, not at all. He even entrusted others to rub the diamonds. At most, come one. By the way, cloning. The cloning spell is still needed. Gretel's eyes lit up. Cloning is a good spell. Its function is not only to make a duplicate body for high-level mages or high-level extraordinary beings, so that they can travel to the battlefield more conveniently. What's more, it can be used to grow organs. Nurture your limbs. Suppose a person suffers from liver failure/kidney failure/heart failure/pulmonary fibrosis and other serious diseases due to acquired reasons. A cloning procedure and an organ transplant can turn the situation around without considering the issue of rejection. What? Organ cutting and restoration technique, plus at most one to treat serious injuries, and hang on to life during the process of organ restoration, can also solve this problem. Doesn't it require the eighth ring cloning technique? Oops, what if it's congenital heart disease? Cloning can add genes to adjust, and if the organs are cut off and grown again, they will still grow back to their original appearance. Therefore, Greet concentrated on recalling the spell model of clone technique and built it bit by bit in the meditation world. Well, this part is used to point to the subject and draw the subject's soul back to the clone. This part is engraved on the inner and outer walls of the alchemy device to maintain the stability of the environment of the alchemy device and promote the growth of clones. This part is used to promote the differentiation and reverse differentiation of clonal cells. This part is used to promote the rapid growth of clones. Without magical acceleration, it is absolutely impossible for a clone to grow to adulthood within a year. By the way, there is also an interface for modifying chromosomes. Modification, cutting, inserting new points, all these interfaces must be reserved. The same is true for the interface for importing chromosomes. He has recorded so many chromosomes. Maybe one day, he can use these recorded chromosomes to clone something? By the way, there is also an interface for maintaining organs. In addition to cloning the entire body, it is also possible to clone individual organs and a group of organs for various studies. Then, the interface for expanding the alchemy device cannot be missing and must be reserved. The current cloning technique is used to clone humans, but what if a giant dragon needs to carry out a dangerous mission? The powerful energy of the world's gifts continues to flow in. Condensation, transformation, and transformation into spell configuration modules one after another, approaching each other, combining with each other, some close, some far away. And around Gretel, the world of meditation that was tending to become more substantive came to an end and returned, with a strange atmosphere. The breath of life, the breath of creation. And more importantly, more distinctly, the smell of death. Lord of the Plague, on the underground floor of the Mage Tower, a necromancer suddenly jumped up. Without wearing a hat, he grabbed a skeleton at hand and threw its head high. This time, the Lord of Plague has constructed our necromantic spells. Long live the Plague Lord! It's 37 degrees, I hope I have a good sleep at night and don't have a fever tomorrow. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geolan 2020. Chapter 1635. The necromancers cheered. If it weren't for the fact that Gretel was still in the process of advancing, I'm afraid they would have already taken out their treasured wine and started clinking glasses with each other and pouring wine. Although many necromancers have lost or partially lost their sense of taste due to the erosion of negative energy or due to errors in an experiment. However, that doesn't stop them from drinking. Get drunk. The Lord of Plague has finally turned to necromancy. Such a happy event is worthy of getting everyone drunk. The one who has hooked mechanized mind on himself, don't run away, just take a spell from me to remove it. The magicians of the protection, conjuration, and transformation systems exchanged glances with each other, shrugged, and then did whatever they had to do. It is still beneficial to observe the advancement of a high-level mage and the materialization process of his meditation world. Even if they have passed this stage, it is still beneficial. You can compare it with the path you have taken, learn from your experience and lessons when you next advance, and you can also use it to teach your disciples. Even if you don't do any of these, you can still seize the time and observe the spell configurations in the world of meditation. You might be able to copy something you haven't recorded before. The magicians of the plasticity department were not so happy. Although a large number of magicians followed Archmage Philby to work at the accelerator, there were still quite a few who stayed. At this time, these magicians felt the fluctuating atmosphere around them and looked at each other. It's the breath of the dead. If I feel it correctly, it really is the breath of the dead. Mage Nordmark has turned to the necromancy system, right? No. By the way, Your Excellency, the Lord of Thunder, seems to have arrived. Another magician, the proud disciple of Archmage Philby, asked with a trembling voice. Guess, Your Excellency, the Lord of Thunder, if you find that your disciple has thrown himself into the Black Crow Swamp. There was a dead silence. On the other side of Black Crow Swamp, they are trying to pull the Nordmark mage over all the time, responding to his requests and doubling the supply. They even talk about the Plague Lord every day. Everyone regarded this as a joke, and shouted to each other from time to time, "It's useless for you to be like this, and Mage Nordmark is from our energy evocation department, but what if the Nordmark mage really prefers the necromancy system? Your Excellency, Lord of Thunder, what violent thunder will fall?" The Lord of Thunder stood with his hands behind his hands, looking at the quiet mage tower. His face was neither happy nor angry, and he couldn't even see anything that could be called an expression. Instead, Princess Norrell pulled his sleeve, tugged gently, and then tugged again. "Hey, don't be angry. Survival and death are inherently cyclical existences, and together they form a part of nature. Just like the thunder and lightning just now, what a violent destructive power, and how strong vitality. The existence of destruction and vitality brought her a very special feeling. Princess Norrell feels that after a while, she can sort out the gains from her travels, or watch another round of spring, summer, autumn, and winter on Dragon Island, and then she can try to attack the legend." The Lord of Thunder turned his head silently. "It's not like this," he thought, "dear Norrell, you really aren't like this. I'm not angry, not so angry that I want to slap little Gretel. Even if you study necromancy, it doesn't mean you will become a necromancer. If you don't remember, I told you that little Gretel worked hard on cloning during that time, and then dug out some spell fragments. I figured out the hematopoietic technique. The little guy will indeed not become a necromancer. Of this, he is 120,000 certain. But why did he choose to engrave necromancy when he advanced? According to Philby's report, during this period, she and Gretel have been studying electrons and high-energy electron flow. If he hadn't put enough effort into the evocation spell and hadn't researched a suitable spell, why would he have inscribed a necromancy spell? This little guy has gone too far in his laziness. When he finishes his advancement, you must force him to make up lessons. Make up for the class well. The Lord of Thunder secretly made up his mind and felt that his mood had improved a little. He calmly sensed the elemental fluctuations coming from the direction of the mage tower, and sensed every subtle change in Gretel's advancement process. Can everything go well? Or will there be a little stumbling? Does his mental power need to be spread out to sort out the elemental chaos around the little guy? Or, is it best to retreat farther away so as not to affect the little guy's progress? No, wait, what is that? Gretel's advancement process has reached the end. Huge power was aroused by him, with the core of meditation to be precise, the core of the virtual person strengthened to the chromosome level, resonating with the physical body. Under the guidance of recent research results, that abundant ability is poured into cells, chromosomes, and every atom. Greet felt that his entire body, every cell, was crackling. Absorb energy. Absorb a lot of energy. Let the atoms that make up bones, muscles, internal organs, and every part of the body enter the transition state. As long as 1/10, no, even 1% of the atoms, if some of their electrons enter the transition state and maintain a stable state, they can absorb enough energy. And these energies can bind more extraordinary elements. Then greed began to worry. This time, the gift of the world's will was too rich. The energy absorbed by his body had reached its limit, and the engraved spell was about to be completed. However, there is still a steady stream of power pouring down from the void. What should I do? I can't let it go but can't let it go. I can't absorb it anymore but can't fit it in. Never mind. Break the jar and break it. Anyway, this time, the cloning technique was also engraved, and anyway, he also recorded so many chromosomes. Let's give it a try. Use the ready-made chromosomes as a guide, use the engraved cloning technique as an aid, use the energy gifted by the world as the material, and try to shape something. For example, silver dragon? Click, click, click. Greed clicked, pieced, and disassembled, and cut out a complete silver dragon chromosome. Using Cyrilla's chromosome as a template, add Vasquer's suspected Y chromosome, enter the cloning technique, and import energy. Energy is condensed and transformed into matter under the guidance of cloning. A small group of chromosomes condensed in a white mist state. Then, there is a small cell, the initial primitive stem cell state, dividing, dividing, dividing. Ah, Gretel, what are you doing? Under the watchful eye of the Lord of Thunder, he flew down from the sky city and watched by the dragons surrounding the mage tower. On the top floor of the mage tower, Cyrilla's exclamation suddenly sounded. Why did you suddenly get a little dragon out?